.001%.
1/1000th of 1%.
001%.
That's what you're mad about?
That's why you're rioting in the streets?
That's why these black lives and dozens of others had to die. .001%.
This is why large parts of major cities are being reduced to ashes?
This is why black business owners are losing our livelihoods?
1/1000th of 1%.
This was worth hundreds of millions of dollars worth of destruction, creating thousands of innocent victims.
We ask our first responders to come to our aid when we are at our worst.
Including police officers who field more than 240 million calls per year.
They are often running in the direction of danger, and we're running away from it.
And out of 240 million calls a year, less than .001% end in a suspect fatality.
Officers should be held accountable if they make a mistake, but how many of these less than .001% fatalities were justifiable shootings in defense of themselves or the public?
You may find a bad cop in 800,000,
But a systematically racist epidemic of cops?
I don't think so. The numbers simply don't support it.
Maybe it's time we took some personal accountability.
we educated ourselves and prioritized our social injustice outrage. Don't fall for the fallacy of the disproportionate theory.
You've probably heard that black Americans are disproportionately killed by police officers relative to white Americans.
But they're trying to hide an ugly truth that a literal majority of violent crimes in this country are committed by a criminal element within the demographic of young black men.
It's not politically correct to discuss these facts.
For reasons other than the color of their skin, criminals within a demographic that make up only 6% of one population is committing roughly the same amount of violent crime as the largest demographic.
That amount of criminality predicts that cops should be interacting with black Americans twice as much as they currently are.
Now, why do you think police officers are half as likely to engage with a black suspect over a white suspect?
Perhaps it's because this insidious false narrative has put police officers in an impossible situation.
Twice as many white suspects are killed by cops every year. And remember, that's disproportionately white, since both demographics are committing virtually the same amount of violent crimes.
Stop scaring black Americans with a racist horror story.
Our children are no more likely to be killed by police officers than anyone else minding their own business.
If you're not a criminal, not engaged in criminal activity, you have a virtual 0% chance of being killed by the police.
We should raise our kids to respect reasonable authority and avoid being emotionally sabotaged by political opportunists.
The criminal element within the black community commit violent crimes against each other at a rate 5 times greater than the largest demographic.
It has long been overdue for a new era of personal accountability in America for all of us. Less than .001%.
1/1000th of 1%.
Less than .001%. Ask yourself, are we going to fix our problems by burning down someone else's house? Or cleaning up our own?
We believe that news outlets should be held accountable for spreading false narratives, especially one as destructive and divisive as one regarding a racially charged issue, and then worse than that, implying that it is the fault of the very people on the front lines who are facing the brunt of a real problem, which are areas overrun with lack of leadership, corruption, violence, and poverty. And no one will ever want to invest in those areas and infuse those areas with the opportunities they desperately need until the risk is gone, until the crime is drastically reduced or gone. That's not less police, that's more police. More police being allowed to do their jobs. This isn't a white or black issue. These are American neighborhoods. These are our American brothers and sisters. And this is an American problem. It's ugly business. So the news, like vultures from the cheap seats, swoop in on the lowest common denominators in this ugly business and paint America, the police, supposed white culture or whiteness, with this broad brush, and stokes an insidious false narrative that is actually and ironically at the root of any genuine racial division today. They need to be held accountable. It is our hope that, like Nick Sandmann, who recently was awarded a large settlement in a righteous defamation lawsuit, where because supposed news organizations are so intent on pushing this false narrative, they globally and nationally shamed and defamed an upstanding young man for simply standing and wearing the wrong hat. That's all he did. In fact, the real story that day was a group of disgusting racists calling themselves the Black Israelites who were shouting vile, perverted things at these teenagers unprovoked, calling them inbred crackers and sons of white whores and the like, or the Native American man who, maybe with good intentions, decided to beat a drum in a kid's face for no good reason. It is our hope that some savvy lawyers and or legislators will see that what is driving this is absolutely a false narrative, provable and verifiable, and the news should be held liable for the destruction and mayhem their hate speech is causing. When that class action lawsuit is filed, I suggest all these Democratic-run cities facing millions of dollars in damages due to this Floyd and BLM nonsense sign up and take all these major news outlets to court. They are preying on the emotional conscience of minority groups in this country that have historically suffered enough. And yes, in our opinion, and in conjunction with one political party, a political party that I used to vote for, are setting up a new plantation where rather than metal shackles, these are shackles of dependence and victimhood. This is an industry that thrives on you failing. Failure is their product, and so they are not looking to solve problems, especially yours. If you succeed, they're out of business. They know that with each success story, their narrative fades, and the last thing they want you to be is personally empowered. There isn't a single demographic in America that needs a systemic excuse. Anyone can start poor and do anything from earn a decent living to striking it filthy rich. It's not a guarantee, but it is more possible here than anywhere else on the planet. And anyone in America telling you differently needs you more than you need them.